All right, as you might have guessed, I'm going to give you another tool review. This G0609X. This is Grizzly's 12-inch jointer. It's one of their 12-inch jointers. And I'm going to tell you some things that I like about it. I haven't got to use it a lot, but there are some things that I wanted to show you about, and I wanted to talk about cleaning it. And that seems to be a topic of debate, at least if you read the reviews at Grizzly. There's been a lot of gripes about how you clean one of these because they're covered in grease. Obviously, grease is bad. You don't want to get it in your wood. It's going to create fish eyes. It's going to have all kinds of bad consequences. But really, it's a non-issue, and I'm going to get into that quickly. And I want this to go fast. I'm going to show you some things I had to adjust in the beginning. And then we might run a board through it. It's not necessary, but you can take my word for it. It leaves a flawless finish. And I'll show you the cutter head. And how, like I said, and get into some of my gripes, which aren't very many as of yet for the amount of use I've put it through. But first, I just want to talk about table adjustments and just kind of give you an overview of it. Some things I don't like are this. This is kind of wobbly, and that is one of the major gripes that they talk about in the reviews, and I agree 100%. I don't like it. I think it could be shored up some. But, you know, it's not really an issue if you put your hand around the back to push the buttons on it. It's not plugged in. Well, you turn this to get ready to fire it up, then hit it, and you're good to go. The red light will come on when it is ready to start. It has a magnetic, I think they call that magnetic switch, so if the power was to go off and come back on, it's not going to restart. Good feature. Big, heavy cutter guard. Adjusting this wasn't a big deal, but I didn't read the instructions to do it. I figured it out. Might want to read the instructions. I tend to want to do things myself and try to learn, but right now it's set at 0 depth of cut, so you just want to loosen this up. I like how these handles kick out of the way. That's real nice, so you don't run into it with a leg or something when you're finished. But it's just like butter. I feel no grit, no grinding or anything in here when I'm doing this. The only thing I'm getting resistance right here where this meets this. That needs some grease. That's where the squeaking's coming from. Inside it, all the mechanics are really well greased. Don't have a problem with that. The outfeed table, bear in mind when you buy this new, the outfeed table is locked into a position. It'll only vary just a couple of inches. And I actually tried to lower it just to make it easier to clean the head, and it was locked. And I thought maybe there was something wrong. And then, of course, it took a quick little scan of the manual to find out that it was in fact locked in place. So I unlocked it and took out the I think they call it the jam nut on the back and the bolt, back the bolt way out. Lowered the tables, and then I'm going to show you the head and what I did to clean it. All right, I said in that first portion that the outfeed table was locked and it would only vary a couple of inches. Well, that was incorrect. It would actually only vary just slightly, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. The total drop was probably 1.5 inches. I don't know, you have to look in the manual, but I just meant it would only go down a little bit. The cutter head was just absolutely saturated with the, I think they call it cosmoline. It's just a rust preventative, kind of a waxy rust preventative grease. And it was, I have seen it where it was kind of set up and kind of solid. Well, this was actually still fluid. It was, in places, it was kind of tight. But all I had to do was, what I did, I lowered both tables as far as they would go. And in the direction of the cutter head, I would wipe it with a cotton shop cloth. And just got it as clean as I possibly could. And being very careful, make no mistake, these will cut you instantly. So got it clean as I could, and then just saturate it with Bow Shield T9. It's developed by Boeing as kind of leaves a waxy finish behind. It's rust preventative. Their lawsuit works wonders for taking this stuff off. Saturated it really well, and then on all over it, and then put this back on, and then fired it up. And when I turned it on, it slung all of that off. And you can imagine, it went, you know, kind of splattered on the table, mainly underneath this guard, mainly under here. And it's just a simple matter of wiping it up. And I repeated the process. I mean, you can see this cutter head. It is absolutely immaculate. there is slight residue of some bow shield that I put on it just because I knew I wasn't going to get right after it. And what I'll do when it comes time for me to work this, I'm just simply going to take a piece of fur or just some whitewood, just some soft 2x4, clean 2x4, and I'm just going to face joint it all the way the length of the table, clean it with good vacuuming. It's just going to pull it all out. It'll be clean, it'll be dry, and it'll be ready for use. There's no need to stress over cleaning these tables. T9 bow shield all over everything. Wipe it off. It's going to leave a good residue behind for your protection for rust preventative. And then I also use Renaissance wax. And this is not my idea. I found this on YouTube, and it was a good. Some of the professionals use it. So really good product. Wax everything real well. It's been about 2 weeks. I haven't touched this in open air for about 2 weeks, and in my shop stays at right around 50% humidity, which is almost perfect. So that is that. So what I thought I would do now is just plug this in and give you an idea of how it sounds and perceived vibration. All right. I told you that the red light would be on when it was ready to start. That's not the case. You would want to turn this out. And then at that point, the emergency stop is always in on these tools. But let's start it up, let you hear it. And I have done the world famous nickel on its edge test, and I can put a nickel anywhere. I think it fell over in one location, but that was probably more the nickel than anything. But yeah, you can start this machine properly shimmed. It has been leveled and shimmed with the nickel on its edge, and it will not move. And I was just now digging for one to find so I can prove that fact, but I can't find a nickel. Maybe in a different video. Okay, so talking about the fence system, let's go around back and I'll give you a better look at that. There has been some mention of people loosening their fence if it's perfectly set at 90 degrees, changing where it rides on the bedways, and it no longer being 90 degrees. I've only moved it twice. It was close enough for me. I mean, if you're talking thousands, I don't know how many thousands it would be out. But as far as I can tell, it worked the only 2 times that I've done it. But I can expect it not to be perfectly at 90 degrees when you move it. I think that's just the nature of the beast, and that's what squares are for. This is a 90-degree adjustment. When you loosen this lever right here, I'll turn it up so you can see it. When I loosen this lever here, you're able to adjust the 90 degrees of your fence. And this handle helps because this is not light. This fence, you're not supposed to carry these over here and put them on by yourself. I did it, and I thought I was going to cut my fingers off at one time. I got under it between the bed. It was a little bit precarious, so I'd recommend getting help when you go to install this. But this was a 90-degree adjustment. It has a nut, and you just turn this to fine-tune your 90. And there's stops at 45, and I think one other stop somewhere else. But that's how you do that. And it did need adjustment. Getting into this adjustments, I didn't have to adjust anything. I purchased I think it was a 50-inch aluminum straight edge, and I checked it. And for anything that I'll do, I just kind of eyeballed it. I'll do it again with feeler gauges and make sure everything's perfect. You want to get it as close as possible because the Wood Whisperer has a good video tutorial on how to do it. It's not easy, and it's not something that I wanted to tackle yet until I could tell that my work is suffering. And I'll check that and get into that later. These are proprietary nuts that spin on threaded shafts, and they change the parallelograms in a manner that allows you to drop ends, raise ends. Your bed can do anything. These are on both sides. So there's that. They're adjustable, and anytime if you were to go out of adjustment, there's nothing to it to fix it. But as far as the overall review, I mean, I haven't used it enough to know, but the fence is really stable. Yeah, I perceive no movement on the fence with moderate pressure. I shouldn't have any trouble. edge jointing a pretty substantial board without deflection of the fence that sometimes that I read about in some of the 8-inch models. Alright, so in closing, the last thing I wanted to mention was this was all in one crate, obviously because the big handle controls are in the base, so that would be not something that the typical consumer would want to install. There's a lot going on in there. I don't remember exactly what it weighed. I think the crate weighed about 1,100, and I think the joiner weighs close to 900, 800, 900. I have to look it up to be sure, but somewhere around there. So my Kubota is an LA 4701, so 47 horse, with an LA 765 loader, capable of around 1,600 pounds at the pivot pin on my loader. So in the manual, it recommends that for this and the lathe that you have a loader or forklift capable of 2,000. I had a box blade on my tractor, and I simply put 400 pounds of concrete on it. 200 pounds of concrete, no, that's not right, 240 pounds of concrete and a big oak beam. So with that, it wasn't rear wheel light. Everything was stable and it was safe to move it. So just make sure you have a way to do this. It's not going to be something that I would ever want to try to lift with a few buddies. It's dangerous, and if you get this on your foot, you'll cut your foot off. So be careful with that. I didn't have any adjustments to make other than just shimming the base of it up. It's temporarily shimmed with hard oak shims that I made. I'm going to have to find some steel to do it properly, just so they won't mash over time. But it's stable. I mean, I don't even know if I could pick up on it, but wouldn't want to anyway. Everything's fine other than the flimsy thing, and if you need to know anything else about it that I haven't talked about, send me a message or a comment, and I'll either find out for you or I'll let you know the best I can somehow. But thanks for watching. All right, well, I couldn't find a nickel, but I did find a penny, and I have a little light on it just to make it a little bit more visible. Let's see if I can start the big jointer and it not move. Yep, they went through the startup and the kick out, and that's pretty amazing.